All right, let's see if I can break this down. So, imagine it's you and one other person on a island. Not hell, let's make it your own planet, just the two of you. And you discover some marijuana. You want to smoke it. And the other person says, no, you can't do that. You say, why not? And they say, because I said so. You'd say, piss off. This is my choice. This is my body. I can do what I want. You don't have any right to tell me otherwise. And we could all see that as making sense, right? Okay, same situation, same island, same planet. Let's stick to the planet. It's the two of you. And the one person says, look, I think there's a sickness, and I've made this concoction, and you've got to inject it into yourself to save yourself, but to save me as well. You know, you got to do it. And you'd say, no, this is my body. This is my choice. You can't make me do it. Just like you couldn't tell me I can't put the marijuana into my body, you also can't tell me that I must put this concoction into my body to try to save myself or to save you. All right, this idea that one person cannot tell another person what to do in a one-on-one situation also applies regardless of the magnitude. 1 million people, 1 billion people, a quadrillion, billion, zillion people. And yet that is the very basis of what our perception of authority is, and the erroneous basis of the existence of government. There's a small group of people that said, hey, we have a divine right to tell other people what to do for their sake, and we're going to do that. And we are going to exercise it through the enforcement of violence should someone not adhere to this, which is carried out by the police and the military. I should have included in the one-on-one example that there was also a threat of bodily harm or being put into a cage if you did not inject the concoction, or if you did ingest the other drug. And if this isn't an obvious example of what's going on right now, then you're pretty dense. And this is only one of, I could literally come up with millions of examples that occur on a daily basis of the illegitimacy of government. So we need only one to understand that it is invalid across the board, and the very existence of government is immoral. For all rights, this is the basis of natural law, part of it, all rights that you are entitled to as granted by the fact that you exist, those rights exist independently of another human writing them down and saying that they are man's law. Again, any right that you are entitled to, which is all actions that do not harm another person, to put it very simply, you are entitled to irregardless and independent of any other authority or human or man claiming that you have that right. Therefore, the need for government is irrelevant, because any right or any law in addition to this would not be allowed, would not be moral. So these are the rights that you have independent of government. Every other law that they write, that they create, that is not in alignment with that, therefore is not a moral law, and they're complete bunk and bullshit. All right. So if you can tease out the significance of not just the hypocrisy, but the immorality of a group of people or one person telling another person that under threat of violence, if you do this to yourself or if you don't do this to yourself, we have the right to enforce that. So let's say it's just one person on the planet and there's 100 others, okay? Well, how would he or she get away with that? He or she couldn't certainly fight all 100 and make them bend to his or her will. No, you would need a form of enforcement. So this one person with the idea to control the others would find 5 or 10 of the biggest, strongest, and dumbest individuals and say, look, you are going to be the means by which we ensure that my ideas reign supreme. And they'd say, oh, okay, well, what's in it for me? Great question. So how is it that they are convinced? Well, yeah, they might buy into the notion, but that's not going to be enough for people merely on philosophy. Clearly, no, they need to be promised some sort of material benefit, right? And what could that be? Well, on this planet, we have invented this concept of a value ledger. We'll call it money. And this person says, I'll give you all this money if you make sure that these rules are not followed, not broken. Like, okay, well, what's the significance of money? What is it? And you pull out this piece of paper and you write a number on it. You're like, look, here's 100 dinglebacks. It's their form of currency on this planet. Oh man, dinglebacks. Well, what's it worth? Well, you can exchange it for food or shelter or water or sports cars. They're like, that's awesome. But pray tell, who is overseeing the appropriate valuation of the dinglebacks? Is it a super sentient being that can arbitrate and adjudicate appropriately based on one's input and value? No, you say. I created them. I print them at my leisure. I'm telling you that you have to accept them. And in point in fact, the dingleback holds no inherent value. It is only a perceived value. And I own the ability to create or destroy them at my leisure. Now, if this doesn't sound like some crazy fucked up story, it is exactly what we're going through right now as the basis of the Fed. You think the stock market crashes are just random. You think the inflation and deflation of money supply is just random. It's all made up. The idea of money as a ledger to account for value is an awesome idea. The fact that a human controls the ability to create and diminish the supply, yeah, that's not going to work. It's going to be manipulated. And in fact, it is. So here we now have a group of people that said they have the divine right to tell other people what to do. They've sold everyone on the idea that in exchange for their goods and services and property and time and labor, that they will be issued worthless pieces of paper that are controlled by the very people that wrote the laws that they want enforced. And they've now got this other group of people that are the biggest, baddest, strongest, and dumbest to buy into all this, to enforce it. And you've got our military and police state. And this isn't just in the United States. This is everywhere. So if you can't now start to get a feeling for the absolute freaking nonsense of what is our current state of affairs, the illegitimacy of government, the invalidity of its existence, and money, not the idea of a medium of exchange that cannot be controlled or corrupted by humans, which we do not yet have. Precious metals was close because you had to go mine them, but it's still something you can lie about. Is there gold in Fort Knox? And it's still something you can steal through violence and unacceptable force. See, we would need a medium of exchange that was overseen by like God itself, right? Where we couldn't tamper with it. Where if you went out and baked a loaf of bread, you were issued spiritual credits. Oh wait, that's what enlightenment is. That's what money is trying to replace. Are you getting it yet? The whole system's corrupted. So we've got this group of people, government, that is enforcing absolute bullshit and violence against its own people by convincing this other group, military and police, to enact this. You think Rockefeller and Gates is physically harming anyone? No. And even these guys are puppets to the priest class behind them. They're getting other idiots to physically enforce this. Okay? See, we still have the power. And if you think this all sounds far-fetched, and if you think the word magic and sorcery is just something for the movies, because if I painted that picture on that planet, you'd be like, who in their mind would go along with this? I'd say, well, it's simple. That one person, he's doing this by casting a spell. And you're like, oh, that's it. There was magic. There was something superhuman, something out of this world. That's how this is happening. See, this will never happen in the real world. And it's like, oh, wait. No, that sorcery is happening. That is mind control. That is what the mystery traditions is all about. That is what the esoteric teachings is all about. That is what I will be attempting to unravel for everyone by explaining natural law and carefully picking apart this false construct that has been going on for thousands and thousands of years. This isn't like they just came up with this when the Fed was created some 100 years ago. This has been worked on for hundreds and thousands of years. The degree at which the mind control is baked into our psyches from birth. I'm telling you, if you could jump into my head, and I am just getting started, and you could see the truth of how things operate, this is what our reality is. This is the real work that must be done to get people to the truth. Because every moment that we allow for government and order followers to enforce laws that are not inherently granted by the universe, by nature, by supreme intelligence, by God, by what I call TROG, every moment that happens, we are digging ourselves deeper into slavery. This is the very basis of natural law. And if you can't see that we are enslaved, we have much, much distance to travel. Alright guys, that was a lot. That is listening to 200 or 300 hours of Mark Passio boiled down into 10-15 minutes. The significance and severity of this is beyond your wildest comprehension. It is beyond the material world. This isn't about gold stars on the refrigerator. This isn't about a promotion. This isn't about winning $1 million or becoming president of the fucking world. It's about allowing freedom to flourish by discovering truth, so that the very nature of consciousness which is expressing itself through our 3D time-space continuum here on Earth. Each of us is an individuated unit of consciousness that has the opportunity to express through our free will the acceptance that natural law exists and to live in accordance with it. So every moment this isn't happening, we're not just damaging it for ourselves on an individual level or for the whole frickin' human race, but for the expressive ability of TROG itself, for consciousness to improve and live in love. This is a big deal. So, if the government can't tell me not to smoke a joint, or let's put it this way, if the government thinks it can tell me not to smoke a joint and put that into my body, but it can tell me that I have to inject a fucking vaccine, if you can't see immediately how the validity of their existence doesn't just crumble, because it's not just a one-off. I mean, we could name just about everything that they're doing, and you're like, oh wait, no, they can't, no, they can't, no, they can't. And you're like, okay, so government can't exist. Well, how do they exist? Well, their laws are enforced, the military and police. Well, how do they talk them into it? Well, they created money and they control it. And, well, yeah, we've got this, yeah, there's this big gap. We also need to be putting in, yeah, okay. So that's bullshit too. All right. Well, how'd they get all that started? Oh, well, because they understand the deep inner workings of the universe and the psyche and the subconscious, and that's what occult information is, and that's why they've hidden it from us, because they don't want us exploring within. They want us looking without, looking for that savior to come back, dividing us up. All right, and that's mind control. Well, that's really just sorcery. That's dark magic. They've cast a spell on us. But how do they do it? Oh, well, they constantly have it in our face, and we willingly carry it around in our pocket, and we go home and drink fluoride and sit in front of a box that tells us what to think. Oh, that's how they do it. Because we're fucking lazy. We don't want to do the work. We're giving in to convenience. We have sold our soul for a goddamn Apple iPhone. It'd be funny if it wasn't so sad. So, in a nutshell, that's how it's happening. That's how the world is being utterly controlled by evil, evil people. Not to mention the censorship of the truth. Okay, I think I've said enough. That felt good. That felt really good. Our duty is to truth, to spread it, to share it, to get more people in alignment with it, so that we may manifest on the aggregate, on the collective, more morality and therefore more freedom. Through freedom, we will live and enjoy lives that you think you could only imagine as utopia. We're this close to the ability. We're this far from actually doing it. This is the work I will be carrying. This is the task I will be working on from now until death. Alright, I gotta go to the farmer's market now.